Welcome to Broncos headquarters, everyone. Dove Valley on a Monday after a tough, insanely just kind of game against the Patriots. Jake Marsing here alongside me, Brian Green from 5280 Sports Network. Jake, yesterday didn't put the final nail technically in the Broncos playoff hopes coffin, but I'll tell you what, that coffin has a lot of nails in it.
Yeah, if we're gonna do funeral analogies, Ryan, the pallbearers are carrying the casket down the aisle.
Yeah.
There's still a chance, though, that the body might slam the door open at the end.
Yeah.
I doubt it, though. This Broncos team now does not control their own destiny, not just for the division. The division's out of the question. Did Oakland win the division yesterday officially?
No, they locked down a playoff spot.
Yeah, so the Raiders are right about to win the division. Kansas City's still in the mix there as well. But these Broncos don't even control their own destiny for a playoff spot. They win out, and there's still about a 40% chance they don't get in. And they've got two really tough games against Kansas City and Oakland. We'll preview the Oakland game later in the week, I'm sure, Ryan. But absolutely, this team they're on their last legs. They got the death rattle going on back here. This team is just about done.
All right, so I think we all know that offense was a big issue yesterday.
Well,
any thoughts on that, or did it pretty much speak for itself?
Ryan, here's my hashtag hot take on the Denver Broncos offense.
All right.
It's bad. It's really, really bad.
It's not good.
From top to bottom. Look, I give Trevor Siemian a lot of heat on Twitter. He deserves much of it, and I will give him some heat here in a second because he was not good yesterday. But you look at top to bottom on this offense, your coaching staff, your offensive line, your personnel people making the hiring and firing decisions in terms of player personnel. Everybody deserves a share of blame for the miserable failure of this Denver Broncos offense. This team should not lose games when you give up 16 points to Tom Brady, hold him under 200 yards passing with no touchdowns. And they didn't just lose, Ryan. They lost by 13 points. Nearly 2 touchdowns. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is beyond absurd that this offense is that bad. Trevor Siemian deserves a good chunk of blame for it. Missing throws, that terrible interception on the out route to Emmanuel Sanders, where Sanders wasn't even looking for the football.
Right.
Sanders even in the locker room, he didn't say it, but he didn't also say, that wasn't... He flat out put that on Trevor in a very kind of subtle way,
Mild
but
way.
he said, Trevor would like to have that one back. No duh, he'd like to have that one back because it was a disaster. This Broncos team, Ryan, we're relitigating, I feel like, the same conversation we had in training camp about Lynch, Siemian, Sanchez. That's been Twitter all week. And that tells me, Ryan, right there, that this team this season has gone nowhere. We've gone in one big 360-degree circle that the Broncos are going to wind up probably staring at 8-8 because of it.
The one thing that yesterday told me was it really probably didn't matter who you started at quarterback this year. This is kind of the team it was going to be. It was going to be a bad offense, and the defense was going to give them enough chances to win certain games. But again, the best win right now that they have on their schedule is against the Buccaneers. That's not something you take a lot of pride in. You haven't beaten like many good football teams, and so yesterday it was exactly what you said. It was just a culmination of all year. We've been talking about how bad the offense is and how good the defense has been, and yesterday just personified it.
And let's put this out there right here, right now. This Broncos team relied on Trevor Siemian at the start of the season because they felt like they had a championship caliber defense that could carry them, make the kind of crazy plays they made last season. You can't rely on those kind of plays. Demaryius Thomas even said it yesterday. Yeah, that was probably a one-time thing. You can't rely on those kind of plays. But B, Ryan, and the thing that I continue to come back to, like you said, if this was always going to be this team, if this team was at best a 9-7, 8-8 football team, why in the world would you draft a quarterback with the 26th overall pick, trade up to get him? A massive, massive investment, people, for your franchise. I want this to come through. That is a massive investment for your organization. You trade up to get a quarterback, and then you not only don't play him, you flat out don't practice him. He doesn't run scout team. He doesn't practice. He sits in the locker room and carries a clipboard. That is an organizational failure from top to bottom, and somebody, Ryan, has to be willing to say that.
Absolutely. Like you said, I think people underestimate the value of a first-round pick. and especially trading
A
up.
first-round quarterback.
First-round
in particular.
quarterback, exactly. I'm not one to think that just because he's not getting practice time or playing time, that means they're worried about him. I think they see his talent. I think they do believe that his talents and this offense may not mesh as well as they would hope. But I think when you just look at Paxton Lynch, and again, I will give Trevor Siemian a ton of credit. I think he exceeded expectations already.
Nice kid, sure,
Nice
whatever.
Kid, great. But I can't help but when I see Paxton Lynch back there, I go, that's a better quarterback talent-wise. He's just not there yet.
Gary Kubiak said a couple of weeks ago, I think he got asked about Paxton and said, gosh, I think that kid has a hell of a future in front of him. So let's throw the talk about this team not believing in that kid out the window. This team absolutely does, but they thought they had a championship caliber defense, and they wanted to go with a guy who was maybe a little bit more experienced, was more versed in the offense, maybe even, yes, a little smarter. And that turned out, in my opinion, to largely be a failure. And that's an organizational thing. Partly because, well, mostly because this defense has not been as good as they thought it was going to be. This is a milk rush defense.
All right.
They cannot. I could run for 85 yards against this defense, and look at me.
I'm going to pull you back. The defense hasn't been as good as last year, but they were about as good as they've ever been yesterday. When you can hold, like you're saying, when you can hold Tom Brady to 188 passing
against
yards,
the run, but yes, the pass
zero
defense is
completions in the first quarter.
Yeah, you gotta
zero
win that
completions in the first quarter. You got to win that game.
Yep.
So, all right, 2 games left. Looks like a quarterback controversy on the horizon for the offseason. Where do the Broncos go from here?
Also, the locker room, I was wondering if you've ever seen the old sitcoms, the episodes where, roommates, they take the room and they draw the big line across the middle of it. You stay on this side, you stay on the other. I was hoping we'd see that today out of the locker room with the NFL Network or the NFL.com report that came out last night about a spat in the locker room. Russell Okung spoke about that, basically said we're moving on, whatever.
Right.
Didn't give us much on that.
I expected that answer.
Yeah, I kind of did too. This team, folks, this team's done, unfortunately. Call me a kettle, but this team, unfortunately, Ryan, looks to be just about cooked.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, we'll see how things wind up in the last couple of weeks. Get us out of here. I'm cold.
All right, yes, it is a little chilly.
And I'm angry.
Still a big game, if you're still looking at it. It's a Sunday night game against a division possible winner.
Kansas City
on Christmas. So it's going to be a big game still. I know that the hopes are a little down now, but like everyone in the locker room was saying, all we can do is win at the moment.
Yep.
And so that's all they can do.
If they win out and Miami loses, and a couple other things happen, they're in. They need help. The stat is if they win out, they have a 60% chance of getting in. My question is, do you really want to see this offense in the playoffs? Really, folks?
Maybe they'll figure it out in the last 2 weeks. For Jake Marzing, I'm Ryan Green. Check out all the content on 5280sportsnetwork.com. We'll see you tomorrow.